We had some of these last year, and we've got a trio of them today from Lawrence. We've got super senior guard Holly Kerskeeter, super senior guard Zakiya Franklin, and super senior center Tiana Jackson. All three of these young women part of the preseason all Big 12 teams. Coach, I'm going to start with you. You are one of the lucky ones today because you get to bring a group of veterans and super seniors. Not many coaches are going to be able to do that, especially three of them. What does that commitment by these young women say, not only about your program, but what is it going to mean heading into this season?
I think it says a lot about, how much they love KU, how much they love the community of Lawrence. I think they have an unwavering confidence in each other and what they can achieve together. I think they came back. They obviously are leaving our program in much better shape than when they arrived. But I think now they're really focused on trying to leave the best legacy that they possibly can.
Your team 25-11 a year ago, 9-9 in the Big 12, but yet the 2023 postseason WNIT champions. You missed out on the tournament, you were on the bubble, but this team regroups, run off 6 wins, and you win that WNIT. We've seen it in the past across women's basketball, other teams that have used that as a catalyst. How do you build off that with not only this veteran group, but newcomers in your program for this year?
We won 9 out of our last 10 games, and we won 25 games with only 3 players playing in every game. So we had some injuries, throughout the year that we had to overcome. I think that as disappointed as we were on Selection Sunday, I'm not sure that competing in the WNIT wasn't the best thing for the future of our program because our crowds just grew and grew and grew. With every home game, and I credit our administration for doing everything necessary to allow us to host. But to compete for that championship in front of over 12,000 people, I think was an incredible experience for our young women. And as you said, builds a great deal of momentum going into this year.
All right, I will remind all of our media friends out there, if you do have a question, please raise your hand and we will bring a microphone over to you. In the meantime, I'm going to ask a question of each of these women up here. Tiana, you were part of the 2023 All Big 12 defensive team, a unanimous first team All Big 12 selection last season. Most people would say you're a defensive stopper, but I know that your game you've diversified your game. What have you worked on in the offseason to be more of an offensive threat going into this season, as well as being a great defensive player?
Something I worked on was shooting more and just being comfortable with shooting. So that was the number one thing, just to grow and be comfortable shooting open shots and shooting when I need to. So.
Do you find yourself wanting to step out a little bit? Does Coach give you any leeway? Like, is that a short corner? Like, how far out do we get to go?
He don't limit me. He don't limit me. He don't tell me that I can't shoot it or whatever.
All right. She says that with a smile, which is good. And there was a giggle here if you didn't hear that, so he agrees. Holly, I'm going to ask the next one to you down there in the end. I know that not making the NCAA tournament was probably a disappointment, but you do capture that WNIT title for this group. How have both of those experiences, both good and bad, motivated you individually, but then the locker room as a whole?
Obviously 2 seasons ago we made it to the tournament, and so I think people saw it as like a step backwards. But I think the way we've addressed the NIT was almost like this blessing in disguise, because I think the main takeaway we had was that we honestly learned to have fun again. And, we had the biggest crowds of the season, and, I don't think that was a coincidence in those games. And, we've had a taste of the good, we've had a taste of the bad, and now we know what it takes to, just take that step further and build off of that run. So,
absolutely. Zakiya, 2023 first team All Big 12 selection. She's part of the preseason All Big 12 team as well this season. Point guards are like quarterbacks. You got a lot going on, right? There's so many things you have to manage on both ends of the floor. What do you think you individually sets you apart as one of the great point guards in this league? But then also, is it part of the system that you run at Kansas and the freedom that your coach might give you?
I would just say part of it is just being even keel, just not getting too high or getting too low, and just always just remaining even keel, like I said. And also just part of the system that and the freedom that Coach Brandon gives us and gives myself. So I would just say that.
Now, you guys like to get out and run when you can. So in the transition game, and as you're bringing in some of these younger new faces in your roster, how have the first few weeks of true practice been going?
They've been going pretty good. Like you said, we got a lot of newcomers, and they're able to learn really quickly our system and just how we do things at Kansas. So,
excellent. All right, Coach, you mentioned it, 25-11 a year ago, and the Big 12 doesn't get any easier as it hasn't from year to year. How have you approached non-conference scheduling, looked ahead in terms of getting this group prepared?
Well, we're playing the toughest non-conference schedule we've ever played, I think. Second game of the year, we're on the road at Penn State. Later in the month, we go to Thanksgiving tournament in the Cayman Islands, and we play Virginia Tech and UConn. Go back and play Texas A&M on the road, and then Nebraska at home. And I'm obviously leaving out part of our schedule, but I think when you look at Power 5 opponents, without question, the most challenging schedule we've ever put together. And I think it's because of these guys. They wanted to go and play in those games. They wanted to find out, what are our strengths, what are the things we need to improve on to go try and compete for a Big 12 title.
Holly, I'd ask you one more question. What are you looking forward to the most this season? Not only getting back on the floor with your fellow super seniors, but what lies ahead for Kansas women's basketball?
I mean, just embracing our last year. Like you said, we're super seniors. Everything right now is starting to get a little sentimental. But I also think, carrying off of what we talked about, having fun, and I think the main reason we had fun is just because we were fearless. And regardless of, our non-conference competition, that's still the mindset of what we have. And, we've carried that into our first few weeks of practice, and just, like I said, enjoying our last year because it's already our 5th year, which is crazy. So just having fun.
And it goes fast. I think we have a question in the back. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Andy Mitz, Blue Wings Rising. Question for all of you. You were picked 3rd in the Big 12 the coaches poll preseason. Does that add extra pressure for you guys coming into the year, or is that an opportunity for you?
Holly, why don't you start?
No, it's not pressure. That's something, we've been chasing as a team for a few years now. And I don't mean specifically 3rd, but just, increasing that ranking, increasing, our, position in the Big 12. And so it's something that you take a look at and you're like, okay, well, this is a goal that we've accomplished, but obviously there's still a lot to work for. So you just kind of look at it and move on.
Like Holly said, I would say it feels great to receive that recognition, but there's still more work to be put in. Obviously, we have a much new team, and we're excited to get out there and play with them. So,
I'm excited. I'm excited that we ranked 3rd, but it's no pressure, honestly. We just, like they said, we have more work to do, and it's great to be ranked 3rd, knowing where this program came from. So that's a big thing. So we just, like they said, have a lot of more work to do. So it's no pressure.
I see it more as validation, like Twin said, validation in terms of the growth of our program and where we are. But I still believe that we're a program on the rise, and hopefully we'll play at a level, well enough to compete for a title.
Well, I know everyone in the Big 12 is happy to see all 3 of you back on the floor for one more time, at least fans and media folks, maybe not other coaches. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the Kansas contingent, and we will be back in just a few minutes with our coach and student athletes from Texas Tech. Thank you all.